I'm okay. My mic's working. Hello, good evening, and welcome, welcome to SOAS tonight. Tonight's a sort of, they always say, oh, needs no introduction, and then they proceed to give a really long and boring introduction, and you don't need me to give a long introduction tonight. But I just want to say a couple of things before I introduce our main speaker, because our two speakers tonight, Dr. Sangeeta Datta and JavedAkhtarSOAScomplete, are both well-known figures here at SOAS and really keep much of what I feel is the SOAS spirit going about Indian culture, Indian popular culture, but Indian popular culture is a very serious subject as well. And Dr. Sangeeta Datta, who I met many years ago, first at SOAS, is well known. Perhaps you might know her work even more than her name, because many of you will have seen her films, which have screened at the BFI just the other week. Her new film, Bird of Dusk, premiered at the London Indian Film Festival. She's also written a BFI book on Shyam Benegal, which is essential reading for anyone interested in Indian, should we call, we're going to get into nomenclature problems, parallel cinema, perhaps I should say. And she is also the founder director of Beartuck UK, who organise many cultural events here in London. We're also looking forward, why not talk about the future, also to her 100 essential Indian films that she's written with Rohit Dasgupta, who's another familiar figure here at SOAS. Now, the impossible one to introduce. How do we introduce Javed Akhtar here? I always like these introductions. When I said, I said to the director of the South Asia Institute, I said, we want to organise a talk tonight in SOAS. He said, in July. I said, it's Javed Akhtar. He said, will you get an audience? I said, I think we will. So obviously I need to give him a little bit more. He needs to sit in on one of my classes to find out why. Because Javed is listed here as an Indian poet, lyricist and scriptwriter, which I think is something of an understatement here. Because all of you are here tonight because you know his work that he wrote with Salim Javed. You also know much about his poetry, which is independent from cinema, of course, as an Urdu poet, and is also, of course, received many distinctions in India, from being a member of the Rajya Sabha, the Upper House of Parliament. He's also had many awards, ranging from civilian awards like the Padma Bhushan to Sahitya Academy Awards for literature, film awards, and so on and so on and so on. And it's really, all I can do is to say, let him speak for himself, because he will say it so much better than I will. So welcome tonight to Sangeeta Datta and Javed Akhtar, who I'm now going to hand the floor over to them. So please welcome them to SOAS.
Good evening, friends. I'd first like to thank Rachel for getting this done in the month of July. Even while we were in the car, Javed Saab was like, let's see how many people are there. And he was being very skeptical. Well, thank you, and I'm so glad to see all of you here. And why not? This is Javed Akhtar back at SOAS after many years. Thank you, Javed Saab, for being here. We've called this evening Popular Culture and Public Engagement. And I'd just like to start off saying that a large part of Javed Saab's own career, indeed his own life, his lineage, that overlaps with the history of popular culture, as it has changed and emerged over various decades in Indian media. We'd like to talk through some of that. It's going to be terribly ambitious to try and pursue everything. But I would like to start, Javed Saab, with asking you, it's been more than 50 years in the Bombay film industry, in the popular film industry for you. You are not originally from Bombay, so you are a migrant who came in and lived and made it big, made it big with your dreams. So when you were young, and in the 50s, when we talk about the years of golden cinema and big cinema, and a cinema with idealism and ideology and moral values, that is the sort of cinema that you grew up on. And popular cinema then had the most wonderful writers who did the writing, the scripting, the songs, definitely, the poetry. So there wasn't this huge difference between a writer or a poet. Some of the best poetry, I guess, came from the lyricists who were writing for the film industry. So I'd like to start with this very rich, textured history of the 50s cinema.
I think nothing happens in a void. Now, cinema of any society is a part of the society. So it manifests whatever is happening in the society. Somebody has said so aptly, that show me the advertisements of society and I'll tell you everything about it. So cinema also is a kind of a window from where you can peep in. If you carefully look at commercial cinema, they say generally about the mainstream cinema, it is said that it is not real. So how can it reflect society? Commercial cinema or mainstream cinema is like a dream. What is a dream? You know, when we sleep, all the parts of our bodies are working, kidney, liver, heart, and so on. And the brain, if it stops working, it will die. So it also has to work. But if the brain works, how will you sleep? So brain changes the language. And it makes you half unconscious. And it starts working in dreams. And these dreams have not come from outside, but they are the part or some kind of a expression or the symbol of whatever is going on in your mind, but differently. So you can relax. And while if there is a good psychiatrist or psychologist at your disposal, you can get your dreams interpreted also. Same way, when the society wants to relax, entertain itself, it starts seeing dreams. And these mainstream films are like dreams. If you look at them carefully, you know who will see this dream and what kind of a person and what kind of a society will see this dream. That was 50s or 60s. 60s is more in focus for me. Not that I'm trying to reduce a decade in my age, but that's a fact. But those were the times when we believed after 47, after the independence, that now we are going towards a very just, fair society. Prosperity is just on the next page of the calendar, and everything is going to be hunky-dory. Now this so-called socialistic pattern of society, that was the term that was used those days, reflected in films also. We were hoping that everything will be fine, everything will be wonderful. So life was simpler. Rich people were bad people, poor people were good people, and our heroes used to come from, or heroines for that matter, protagonists, used to come from the working class, an engineer or a doctor or a student or a lawyer or a farmer or a mill worker and so on, or a taxi driver or a tangewala. And the villain would, as a matter of fact, if you take the villain of mainstream cinema, you can write the socio-political history of India. In 40s, the villain used to be the Zamindar, the Thakur Sahab. Then as you move forward, and the urbanization started, the villain became the mill owner, and the capitalist and Sethji became the villain. And then with the complication of urban life, the local dada, the local mafioso became the villain. And lo and behold, then within a decade, this mafioso became the hero. It tells you something about the society. And the policeman became the villain. The politician became the villain. For some time, we had Pakistan as a villain, but then law of diminishing utility applied there also. So, at the moment, we are deprived of villains. The stories of film don't have villains, because actually we want to be like our villains, you know. So we don't want to criticize them. So that is how it is. Yes, there was idealism. That idealism was given by this hope that everything will be all right. And then idealism took place was replaced by anger. So it's no surprise that emergency and JP movement and the angry young man came almost at the same time. I mean, when people, angry young man's image was not possible in early 50s, when there was Jawaharlal Nehru, where there was hope. Now, when you lose hope in institutions, when you see extra constitutional powers rising heads, then you feel that a vigilante is required. So this vigilante was the image of the time. So if we look at our films carefully, the kind of morality, now again, morality, culture, all these words are not fixed or static. These words also change their meanings. So I don't know what morality you are talking about. I mean, even today, thankfully till today, we are not in favor of unfair, cruel, and unjust people, at least in films. I think point should be taken. But at the same time, the woman, particularly the woman, which was the star in 50s and 60s, that image, that persona of the ideal woman is totally rejected and justifiably. Main Chup Rahungi was the film. Main Chup Rahungi was the representation of the ideal Indian woman. So that is rejected, that morality is changed, fine. Even this morality, that if you don't get your beloved, you drink yourself to death and become Devdas, that is also rejected. So, I mean, that is positive, but we know what is to be rejected. I think we have yet to learn what has to be accepted and imbibed. So we are in this grey area at the moment, and that is shown in the films also.
That is true. We'll come to more contemporary times a little later, but just to go back to the films of the 70s, which many of which you wrote or co-wrote, and they were really still today, they are the biggest markers in the history of popular cinema. When you go back to films like Sholay, or even Diwar, you've just talked about a sort of optimism, a sort of hope, and then all of that being shattered and disillusioned, and therefore you have the angry young man talk to God and ask questions or challenge him, challenge an institution, so to speak, metaphorically. But with Sholay, what exactly led to writing a story of that sort?
Well, you know, a lot has been written about these films, particularly Zanjeer, Diwar, Sholay, not only in India, outside India, thanks to friends like her, and in France, in California, and so on. But let me tell you in all honesty, when we were writing these scripts, we were not aware at all that we are writing something exceptional, or it has any socio-political relevance or socio-economic importance. We had no idea. We were just writing scripts, interesting scripts. We were trying to tell an interesting tale. And I'm so happy that we did not know that these pictures have any social relevance. Because if we would have been aware of it, it means we are looking at things from outside. We were the part of that society, we were breathing that same air, and we were thinking like most of the people think, fortunately for us. So we were on the same page with the society. And we thought this is an interesting character without knowing that so many people will agree with us. So that is how it happened. Now we can see so many meanings in it, but we plead not guilty. We had no awareness that there was any subtext which ultimately will be discovered. But of course there is, but we were not aware of it. How Sholay was made, it was just a small story. As we were developing the screenplay, characters started coming in and many of them become rather important. I mean, one didn't know that Kalia and Sambha and Mausi will become important. We had no idea. But of course, Jai, Viru, Radha, Basanti, and Gabbar and Thakur, these were main characters. And we thought all these characters can be played by important actors. But then somehow, I don't know, I wish I knew I would do it again. Love to do it again. That it caught people's imagination in a way that Sholay is no longer a film. It's a part of Indian ethos, culture, cultural history, and people's vocabulary. I mean, a picture that was released in 75. Today, in advertisements, in sitcoms, in stand-up comedies, in other films, in any film, as a matter of fact, almost in every film, there is some reference of Sholay's dialogue or Diwar's dialogue. After how many years? It is 43 years.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people who are writing this now were not born that time. It's surprising. I wish I could understand the phenomena. Really. I mean, why would people remember Samba? Samba had spoken 3 words in the whole film. Exactly 3 words. Pure 50,000. That's all. That's the only dialogue that character had. But I suppose this is the fun.
Yeah.
Because JavedSahab is an iconic film like The Godfather. Even the lesser characters in The Godfather are remembered. So, Ken Sholay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But talking about remembering dialogues, this is something I'd like to come back to. Even you, with earlier films, for instance, with Mughal-e-Azam, you know your dialogues backwards. You know all the dialogues in that.
Yeah, yeah. We Indians love words, you know. We are a gregarious people. We give a lot of importance to words. We talk for talking's sake. You know, not many people in this part of the world do that. I don't think anybody would hear on the other side of the Suez, anybody would tell anybody, come on, let's sit and talk. We do that. And we have in UP, we have a peculiar word for it. Aap bhaiya batiyaen. Batiyaen matlab let's talk. Topics are not bothered about. The topic is not important, as long as you are talking. So we give a lot of importance to the word. Can you imagine he gave reference of Godfather, that imagine Al Pacino comes to a function and he's on the stage and somebody stands up. Would you please repeat that line? My father made an offer to him that he couldn't refuse. Would anybody say? Please, when you were talking to your wife in that last scene, what was your dialogue? Please repeat it. It's impossible. But all our actors, Amitabh Bachchan and Dilip Kumar and Shah Rukh Khan, go on the stage and people shout and they repeat the lines of their films. At the age of 75, Amitabh Bachchan comes on the stage, aaj khush to bahut ho gaya. Even today he has to say to a fellow, huh?
It's a way of batiyana hua na.
Yeah, bilkul.
But with cinema, Javed Sahab, if you go back to the 30s and the 40s and the films of the new theatres, for instance, there was this literary character of cinema.
Oh, yes.
There were adaptations of great literature.
Of course.
And you yourself have said that a lot of Bengali novels have come to you through translation.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there was this fluidity of languages in a very interesting manner.
Hindi cinema has many components. I mean, as a matter of fact, talking about these things in front of Rachel makes me slightly conscious because she's a scholar. So I'm just a untrained practitioner. So, we have songs. And I'm very sad that slowly I can see the songs are going out of Hindi films and they have gone in the background and perhaps that's their last station. But it's very sad. Because we should not be embarrassed about our way of telling stories. It is not invented by cinema. it has been inherited by cinema. Before the talkies, there were Urdu Parsi theatre, Jatra, Nautanki. Before that, thousands of years back, we had Mrichikatika, Shakuntalam. All these plays and all these narratives, Ram Leela, Krishna Leela, they always had songs. This is a way of telling stories. We put songs in it. Tomorrow somebody may get conscious about Italian opera. It will be very awkward. Oh, let's take out music from Italian opera. So what will be left there? So same way, this is a way of narrating. And you know, we had developed, such fine technique of incorporating songs and shooting them, recording them. The way they used to shoot a song. People like Gurudas, people like Vijayanand, Raj Khosla, Raj Kapoor. They were masters. The kind or the way they have shot songs was unique in the world. So why should you leave that language? But it is happening. It is happening somehow because perhaps the young filmmakers are, they grow up not on traditional Hindi cinema, but on European cinema and English cinema. So they develop some kind of a guilt about the songs. And they are embarrassed, कि क्या हो रहा है, ये गाना क्यों गा रहा है? But I think it's wrong. Then you should be embarrassed about the background music also. So many, in my life, there have been so many dramatic moments in my personal life, but there was never a bang there. So that's sad. And these songs were very important. They were not just entertainment. They were the common man's philosophy. So many, what you say, moral, I don't know why I don't like this word moral, but anyway, for the want of a better word, we'll use it. Because there is something very boring about word moral. Start seeing preachers. So, these are the homilies that these songs have given, like किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दुख गम मिले तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है. That's wonderful. And there are so many songs, वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी. And there were so many songs, they were really pure literature, poetry. I can recite without singing songs which you will say, wow, what good writing. That has gone out of the window. That's very bad and very sad. This is not right. So the structure was inherited from many years. Then literature, the text, because the film was patronized either by Maharashtrians or Bengalis to begin with. And both of them had a lot of literature. So they used that literature in the film. So, and it went across, crossing all the boundaries of languages because it was in Hindi. And different kind of people from different parts of the country worked together. So in any which way, it was a very, very rich tradition, and we have a very, very rich heritage. And we should be proud of that. Every film industry makes, generally they make very bad films, everywhere. And some of them are good. And we have also made a lot of bad films, but some of them are very good.
So with this idea of stardom, Javed Sahab, with the construction of a star, obviously the music and the songs and the dialogues had huge parts to play right through the ages. Today, would you say because the idea of stardom has changed, or the idea of the hero has changed, that music doesn't hold that important part anymore?
I think there has been an equal and opposite reaction. And I totally understand that. Not that I agree with it, but I understand it. You see, in 80s and 90s, there is in human society, there is a tradition. Something good starts. And with time, it becomes its own caricature. People ultimately become their own caricatures. Trends, fashions, they exaggerate themselves Or they start, at one stage, they start imitating themselves. That's the worst thing to happen, if you start imitating your own self. This is what happens. By 80s and 90s, I think 80s is the dark age of Indian cinema. Everything had gone totally out of proportion. The dialogue, the hamming, overacting, melodrama. So, people who were growing up at that age and suffering these films reacted very strongly. And when they decided, this is something I'm not going to do when I make a film. So now the dialogue bazi, in many films in 80s and 90s, you will say, nobody is talking to anybody in straight tone. Suppose, would you like to have a cup of tea? So, all you have to say, would you like to have a cup of tea? But the dialogue has to be there. Kya tumko chanda ya garam? बोलो ना चाय पियोगे? That simple dialogue. So what was happening that they overdid it so much. माँ मुझे समझने की कोशिश करो. I don't think any Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi has ever told the mother, मुझे समझने की कोशिश करो. This is verbatim translation of try to understand me. Verbatim translation of try, but we don't say that. मुझे समझने की कोशिश करो. माँ क्या कोशिश करेगी? दो जूते मारेगी. तो ये जो था, इसका reaction है. Now what happens that when these good directors, I'm not talking about ordinary, good directors, the moment that, नहीं यार, it is sounding so filmy, make it simple. So in this pursuit of simplicity, they have reached insipidity. So the conversation has become insipid to some extent. At some places, even in personal life, people speak good lines. They say something witty, something smart. So don't overdo it. But that is what is happening in reaction. Like in cinema. But I must tell you, the standard of acting, maybe today we don't have an Amitabh Bachchan, or today as a leading man, or we don't have Dilip Kumar or a Balraj Sahani. But the standard of acting in an average Hindi film has increased and gone up by length. In our films, except for the hero, who sometimes used to be a good actor, or a heroine, the rest of the cast was a crowd of hams. That's a fact. Am I right or wrong?
No, there were character artists.
But today, even a bit player is a good actor. Good actor. I get very impressed. We don't have, anyone as talented as Amitabh or Dilip Kumar, that's for sure. But as far as the rest of the cast is concerned, the standard has really gone up. It sounds much more real. There's no doubt about it. It's a package. You get something good, something not so good. That is how it happens.
So with your dialogue writing, Javed Saab, would you consider that real? Was the language real? Were you trying to change things?
I won't know. You will not believe it. Like you were this afternoon, you were mentioning Trishul. The last time I had seen Trishul was 1978. I've never seen it again. I don't see my film later. I find it very frightening and depressing. आप बैठे 30 साल पहले जो आपने लिखा था इस city में watching it. So you're living in the past. It's gone. It's finished. It's no longer yours. As a matter of fact, it was not written by me. It was written by somebody who was some other person and who was of some other age. I am some other person. I should not even take credit for that. सच बात तो ये है. तो उसको देख के खुश होना, तो I don't know how real or how bad it was. People are very kind. They keep on giving me compliments and I don't disagree.
But Trishul was also important because you had the working women. Diwar and Trishul had women in public space.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I have seen only working women. My mother was a working woman. My aunt, when she died, I was brought up by my aunt. She was a working woman. She was professor of economics and so on and so forth. So I have never seen women sitting at home. So perhaps somewhere it must have worked on my mind, not consciously. There is another thing in our film, mother is very important. Now, we did not decide, I mean, these scripts are written by two people, but it's a strange coincidence that both of us lost our mothers at a very young age. So maybe we had some fantasy about mothers, so certainly mother became very important in our film, Trishul or Diwar or any film. So these things happen on subconscious level, working women. We did not decide, we'll do one thing, we should show that she does something. It's not like it happened. How your aesthetics, your morality is formed, I don't think one understands it himself or herself also. What are the influences on you? I'm finished.
Since you brought it to your family, and I'd like to ask you about the lineage from which you come. You know, in your family, you've had many generations of writers.
Oh yes.
Both from your mother's side as well as from your father's.
It's a very, very long lineage. I mean, my father was a writer. His father was a writer, and not writers that they used to write. They were well-known writers, established writers. In any decent anthology of Urdu literature, they are mentioned. My father was a writer, his father was a writer, his mother and father, both of them were writers. Her father was a writer, and his father was also a writer. So it is almost 7 generations. And then now Farhan and Zoya, my daughter and my son, both of them write. And Farhan's daughter, who is now in her teens, early teens, she has started writing. So it's, we see no hope. So we'll continue to be writers.
But you're doing a lot of work to edit and bring all this work together.
Yeah.
Your mother's work and your grandfather's work.
Yes. My grandfather, who was by vocation was a session judge, but a very competent poet, unbelievably competent poet. And he had written so much. It was published in different magazines of that time. And he died in 1927. So obviously all of it was published before that. And he never bothered to get it published as a collection. And somehow, now it's a long story, I'll cut it short, I found a lot of writing by him. And then I thought that I have a fairly good number of poems and ghazals, so let me try to find some more, and then I'll get them published. And this trying to find some more continued for 10 years, because I kept on finding his poetry from different sources, from private libraries, from certain universities, and so on and so forth. So 3 years back it was published in 5 thick volumes. And some strange discoveries took place. There was a discussion about a particular ghazal, which is very famous and most of you must have heard it, that whether it is written by Bahadur Shah Zafar or my grandfather Mustaq. Oh. And in literature, such things have happened. I mean, this is not the only happening that some work gets attributed to somebody else. It's a thing that happens quite often. So about this ghazal, and in 30s there were articles on it, in 50s there were articles on it in different magazines and discussions from pro and for and so on and against. And I found 2 irrefutable proofs that it is his ghazal. One, a book that was published in 1928, written by one of his contemporaries, who was the shagird, the disciple of the same big poet of which my grandfather was also. Amir Minai was a poet, and my grandfather also treated him as a ustad, and so did this other poet, whose takhallus was And he wrote a book, and he criticized Mustaq's ghazal not in praise. He said, when you sing it, you think it's okay, but if you read it, you'll know it's a very ordinary ghazal. And Mustar should not get the credit he deserves and so on. So, as a matter of fact, he confirmed that book, which was published in 1928, and it is in a university library. He did not say, this ghazal is written by Mustar. He's saying that he blamed Mustar, that what kind of a ghazal he has written. He run down the ghazal. One, and another thing is totally unbelievable. That I had gone to inaugurate an art exhibition, and came a girl wearing black with that, what is it called, scarf or
Hijab.
Hijab. Oh, ye main kaise bhul gaya. And she was looking like a mysterious girl, and she talked to me, looking into my eyes in a very flat tone. So that made her even more interesting. I have some papers of your grandfather. It's a बिल्कुल film का scene. तो मैंने कहा, can I see them? My house is somewhere near my father. It's not very far away. My father has those papers and he would like to meet you. He's very keen to meet you. So I said, all right, when we come out, we'll go there. So I took the girl in my car, went to their house, met the father. The father was a very scholarly person. I could see the house is full of books. And the father said that her father, that my grandfather was a very close friend of your grandfather. And they were in Bhopal estate at the same time. And as a matter of fact, they were staying in the same royal guest house. It was a state. And then Mustar went away to Gwalior, but while shifting, he had left some papers there. And my grandfather kept those papers. But meanwhile, Mustar, within 2 years, he died, they never met again. Then my grandfather gave those papers to my father. And then my father gave it to me. They are dead. He was Sir so-and-so, and my father was Khan Bahadur so-and-so. And I have mentioned all that in the preface. And those papers are still with me, so I want to give it to you. So he gave me those papers, writing, it was Mustar's handwriting, and by that time I had seen so many papers and so many writings of Mustar that I could recognize his signature in his writing. And then there was a yellow envelope. And I took out the paper from the... There were different papers, and on one paper, this ghazal was written in his own hand. And that is not the only thing that was written. Underneath that, there was another ghazal. So now we have this ghazal written in the handwriting of Mustar, in his, what you call, Beaz, in his rough book of poetry. So everything ended, then we got it published, the picture of that original handwriting also and so on. So that ghazal is, न किसी की आँख का नूर हूँ, न किसी के दिल का करार हूँ, जो किसी के काम ना आ सके, मैं वो एक मुश्किल पार हूँ. So this is the story.
That's a lovely story.
Yeah. But it was rather an enjoyable pursuit, I must say. For 10 years, it means if you really pursue, you can collect so many things. I mean, so many poets are there. You know their couple of couplets or ghazals or whatever, but they are not properly published. Yeah. And I think there should be an institution to work on it.
We must get those volumes to the library here in SOAS.
Yeah, sure. I'll give it to you at a very reasonable price.
But coming to your father's poetry, Javed Sahab, you've said this quite often that because your father was a well-known poet, you stayed away from writing poetry.
No, it's not as simple, not only for my father, because if you know what is good filmmaking, if you know what a good painting, and you know the work of masters, because I was luckily born and brought up in a family where there was poetry all around. By the time I was 12, I remembered hundreds of couplets. By the time I was 16, thousands of them. Even today, I think I can recite other people's poetry for 4 or 5 hours, if not more. I remember so much. And generally, people from Urdu discipline if they are interested in poetry, they remember poetry. That is our tradition. I knew what is good poetry because I was exposed to it. And when you know what is good work, it's very difficult to start because you are so intimidated. I had read the masters, I had read the classic, I had read the progressive writers, modern, and so on. So I was aware what is good poetry. And that made me slightly scared that whether I'll be able to do something or not, worthwhile. So it's not only my father, that my father was poet and I didn't do it. Maybe a part of it is true because when a shopkeeper's son revolts, he refuses to sit at the shop. So if a poet's son will revolt, he will not write poetry. He'll say, I'll do something else. So that is what happened, and I went into script writing for a very long time. But I suppose that ultimately you complete the circle, come back to square A. I did. But ignorance gives you a confidence which I did not have, unfortunately. Knowing good poetry, good painting, if you want to be a painter and you know what has been made so far, so that is intimidating.
It's interesting you talked about Trishul because there was a song there saying Gabuchi Gabuchi Gum Gum.
Ji, ji.
And then there's a song in Mr. India where you were also coining your own terms. How was that happening?
It is nothing, I'll tell you. There is a film made by Kalpana Lajmi, Darmiyan. You must go, I can't remember the words, but if you will trace, you will find the song. The whole song, one mukra, two stanzas, total gibberish. There is not a single word in the song. Total gibberish. And when the music was released, it was total gibberish. So media was there and all the songs were shown. And as we were coming out, a journalist came to me, Javed Saab, have you written that English song also? I said, yeah. So sounds are a very interesting thing. In so many songs I have used it, like Avara Bhamre, जो धीरे धीरे गाए, उसमें भी है हिलको रे, पता नहीं जो भी है आगे. So these are meaningless sounds, but they're interesting. I like to write gibberish intentionally.
So that brings me to this art of writing to tune and your whole leg of work with A.R. Rahman, where you had a lot of popular tunes.
I don't know how many people of you are aware that most of the songs that you hear, and you have been hearing since, say, 50 years, more, 70 years, 70. These songs are more often than not written to the tune. There is a situation and there is a tune. So you have to write for this situation to that tune. And I must say people like Madru, people like Shailendra, Sahir, I know all of them as a matter of fact, writers of that time, and everybody, they have written superb songs. Yeah. So, I mean, this is perhaps, and I know certain very respectable and competent poets who came to Bombay film industry. They were given a chance to write song to the tune and they couldn't do it. Competent poets. So perhaps this is an art in itself, how to write to a tune. Because our poetry has around 16 regular meters. So all the poetry, except for free verse, is in those 16 meters. Now, when you start writing the tune, I mean, these tunes are not based on these 16 meters. They can be anything, particularly with Rahman. If you can write to Rahman's tune and write a coherent song, then you can write to any tune in the world. Because his tunes are totally unpredictable. His tunes are not influenced by traditional film songs, which were bound by certain meters. The traditional film songs were nearer to those 16 meters. They won't go away from them. And even sometimes the antara would be in small pieces instead of a full line, but the mukhra will be proper and so on. But now, ultimately, when Rahman came, he changed the grammar. So his lines, you never know with one line that what is going to happen in the second line and where it will go, or it won't go anywhere at all. It'll stop immediately, or it will never end. You don't know. So what happens that once you get into the groove, if it is in regular meter, once get into the groove, then cut, you can write. But if every line has its own meter, then every time you have to be cautious. You have to be on your toes all the time from first line to last line. So that is very difficult. But people who can do that, they do it, and some people do it with more competence, some people do it with less competence. Now, more competence means that if you take a tune, the tune doesn't only have length, it has many curves within also. That how the word should move on it. It should not compress the tune, but it should move according to the waves, according to means and murki and whatever. So the word should be like this, that it will go according to the tune's nuances. It will not put a kind of an iron on it. So that is an art, to understand that. Shailendra, Majru, they were masters of this, masters.
While you're talking of writing to tune or even to meter, I'd like to tell everyone here about the present work that Javed Saab's doing, and he's translating Tagore songs into Hindi. He's done one project with us called Anant, and he started on another set of poems. And I'd like you to share some views about your translations.
Now again, the poem is already written, and the tune is there. He made his own tunes. Now, generally what happens when you are writing a song, you are given a situation. But here you are given a complete song in Bengali, and then she thankfully translates it in English for me. But you can't deviate from the content that that great poet has written. So now you have to write exactly what he has written. You have to translate it to his meter, to the same meter. But we have been able to do it. That Anant is already released. It was released 2 years back. 2 years back. And did very well. And we released it here in London. I suppose all the heavyweights, Bengali heavyweights from SOAS and from Oxford and Cambridge, all of them were there. And if they said it's okay, then it must have been okay. So they liked it very much. So that has encouraged us to do another album, to serialize it. Tagore has written so much. So let's try to take it to others who don't know Bengali. आप एक काम कीजिए.
We'll open it out now.
नहीं अभी एक काम कीजिए उससे पहले. You sing that, so please, just hum it, so they will know what we are talking about. Oh, she's a very good singer. She has sung all those songs. चीनी को चीनी पहले बंगाली में 2 लाइन गा दीजिए और उसी को हिंदी में गा दीजिए. That how it is translated, they will know.
Okay, public engagement. This is a very popular song by Tagore, which many might have heard, and it's a very simple tune. But I've found with this work that I've been doing with Javed Saab, there are some heavier poems, and you think, oh my God, this is going to take a lot of time. And this simple one, he's just going to do like snap his finger, and it'll be done. And it's those simple ones which have taken much longer, much longer. We've just finished Auld Lang Syne, which was adapted by Tagore as Purano Shediner Katha, and now he's done the Hindi. So it's a brilliant journey through those songs. And it took time. It took time because Javed Saab doesn't want to use the predictable words or the exact word which would translate as Hindi. So sometimes I'm giving him the Hindi word and he's saying, don't give me Hindi words, because he's thinking of other words that he can bring in. And today he's used a word which I've never heard in my life, and he says this is perfect for Duranto Batashe. So today he translated Meghir Pore Megh Jomeche. So,
Hawa ke jhakole.
have you heard Jhakole? Look. Jhoke.
यही तो है झोंका एक चीज है, छकोला एक और चीज है.
So that's some homework for all of you.
Yeah.
When you hear the full song.
काय की जुबान में झकोले
Jhakole.
बता दीजिएगा.
पहली बार ही सुन रहे हैं
जी.
Okay, so here's the Bengali version. আমি চিনি গো চিনি তোমারে ও গো বিদেশিনী তুমি থাকো সিন্ধু পারে ও গো বিদেশিনী ও গো বিদেশিনী तुम्हें जानू मैं हाँ तुम्हें जानू सुनो विदेशिनी तुम्हें जानू मैं हाँ तुम्हें जानू सुनो विदेशिनी सागर पार है तुम्हारे द्वारे सुनो विदेशिनी मेरी विदेशिनी तुम्ही. Okay, now that's Thank you. That was a digression from Indian popular cinema, but this is also popular music and a popular poet in his times. I'd like to take a lot of questions from you all for Javed Saab. So should we take those questions and then ask Javed Saab to end with some poetry? Or do it the other way around?
नहीं नहीं पहले क्वेश्चन.
Would you like to moderate or?
Sir, yes, आपने हाथ उठाया.
Javed Saab, I was going to say.
Do we have a mic?
No, that's right. I don't need.
नहीं हो
He
नहीं.
doesn't need a mic.
No, I don't need.
Definitely doesn't.
Yeah, Punjabis, I don't need a mic. But Javed Saab, your underrated film Shakti, what was it like working with both legends? And if you were going to write a script again for Mr. Bachchan, what would you do now? Please. So Shakti, what was it like working with both legends? You wrote the film. And you
Yeah.
put both legends together.
I mean, there was a scene in the film where the mother dies and one's mother, another's wife.
Yes.
And I sat down and I thought that when the son will meet, who is in the jail and comes out, they permit him to attend the mother's funeral. And he comes and he sees the father is sitting there. And he goes to his father, while they were not in the best terms. What would he tell the father? And what the father would say? It's a challenge.
Right.
And then I realized that if we have actors like Dilip Kumar and Amitabh Bachchan, I don't think we need words there. And I made that scene silent. And in total silence, they conveyed everything to each other. So if you have the privilege of working with such competent actors, you can have such silent scenes. Because then they transcend words also.
And which, like the second question, if you were going to write for Mr. Bachchan, which I hope you do again, what would you write for him?
I think
Javed Saab?
he, in his whole career, he has not played a lawyer. Maybe he was lawyer in one. No, yeah. I know. I remember that. But that is not basically a courtroom drama, and it was in a very small dose. A film say like Qanun, or say Judgment of Nuremberg at Nuremberg, or any picture which is totally based on the court drama. And
Inshallah he will when you write. And I think you did. You have written a script, if I'm right, on those lines. But hopefully Bachchan Saab will agree and do it.
I have not written any such a script,
I heard you.
and I have not.
I heard rumors.
Who told you?
Now we take another
What is the
question.
source of information? Change it.
I'll give other people a chance now to give them credit.
Yeah, we take another
I think they deserve
Take
it.
yours. Okay, this gentleman has the mic. Give me. Call you.
I entirely agree with you that 60s were the golden age of cinema. Those Paruas, new theaters, some of the interesting themes, the poverty that is handled. You see, even now poverty is a great crime in India with millionaires there as such. And there are no tradition of what is called art house theater here. Not in many, Shyam Bengal, Satyajit Ray, but if you case the new wave directors in France, Buñuel, Bergman, they are entirely different. And unfortunately, we don't have that tradition. I remember the case of Do Bigha Zameen and Balraj Sani and all that sort of thing. It's totally, you got actors who are just interested in make money. And I'm surprised those people come here for earning a lot of money. And women like my sister and other run about, you see, pay the substantial amount of money. Indian cinema, I don't reckon. You see, I saw a...
What's the question, sir? If you can have the question, we'll run out of time.
You see, there is no distribution for women directors, Indian women. I saw one, fortunately. Unfortunately, distribution system is so bad that we get, you see, the rubbish films, Indian rubbish films.
The question is about the distribution system.
Sir, I totally agree with you that this is not a perfect world. That's for sure. But at the same time, it is not true that India has not made any films which are called parallel cinema or new wave cinema or whatever term, or more realistic film or unconventional cinema. What? Like, obviously, we had Mr. Ray and some other directors there, Mrinal Sen and so on. They were doing great work. Mr. Ray is respected all over the world. And if you come to Hindi, it started with the film Ankur that was made in 1974. And Mr. Shyam Benegal, again, a very respectable, internationally respected director, all the these film clubs of the world voted and decided who are the best 100 directors in the history of cinema in the world. And one of them was Shyam Benegal was also there. His name was mentioned. So it is not that. Then there were other people, Gautam Ghosh and so on. They have made many films. I've seen that, don't worry. But your hand is between me and him. So that's true. By the same time, with all due respect, have you seen Garam Hawa? You have not seen.
Good movie.
Maybe you were too young that time. It was in 1974. Garam Hawa. 1 year earlier than shown.
Oh, it was shown here.
Okay.
2 months ago. Yeah, it was shown here just a few months
Now this picture was made in 3.5 lakhs and never recovered its money. It's a wonderful film. Like Shyam Benegal. He has made some exceptionally good films. So Gautam Ghosh, Par, what a film it is. Why don't you people see it?
That's the problem.
There's a problem.
No idea of what is going on.
No, you have to find out. The fact is, let's be realistic, sir. The fact is that this responsibility should be shared with the filmmakers and the film watchers. The film watchers have never encouraged good cinema of this kind. And then in a meeting you can stand up and criticize film industry. But the fact is that when these films are given to you, you don't see them.
Distribution is the problem.
Yeah, okay. So
Why distribution is a problem? Because the distribution knows that you are not going to see the film. That's why they don't buy it. The moment you will convince them you are going to watch the film, they will buy it. It's their business.
we'll take the next question now, sir. Yeah, you have the mic.
Hello, Javed Saab. I'm a big fan. I think we all are. तो मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ
आपसे. I'm a big fan at the moment.
तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि मेरे मुताबिक तो लास्ट 30-40 years में जो मेलेडी है ना म्यूज़िक में वो मतलब डिमिनिश होती जा रही है.
बिल्कुल सही.
ठीक है, तो आप अपनी तरफ से क्या कर रहे हैं to bring that back, because it's so disheartening to listen to music nowadays. And it's so आप what efforts are you making on your own personal from your side to bring that melody back?
I have refused to write the kind of songs that perhaps are prevalent and perhaps some segment of society appreciate. I have not done it. I plead not guilty. At any cost, I have not done it. I have left films. I have spoiled my relation with certain music directors or filmmakers, but I have not done it. As far as trying to do that, you see, again, music like films is also not made in a void. Life has achieved, or shall I say, gained, what is the word, whatever the right word may be, because I don't find it very desirable, such frantic speed. Everything is at such frenzy that obviously the music cannot be slow. It's a part of life. The attention span has shrunk. So the music will increase its tempo, one has to accept that. But to what extent? I mean, music should not only increase its tempo, but try to bring people down to some sanity when they are running like headless chickens. So there should be some compromise between the listener of today and the music that is Indian music or our music, contemporary Indian music. There has to be a happy meeting somewhere, half the way. And this is what I try. And I only work where I see the possibility of doing this. Now recently, my picture, Namaste, England, made by Vipul Shah. The music will be released in a couple of months. You listen to that music. Then Paltan will come in September. Although Paltan has only 3 songs, but they are not regular today's songs. So it is an uphill task. You are walking against the wind, but I can only, because I am not a film producer, I am not a film director, I can only say, I will not do this. And I don't. चलिए लड़की बहुत देर से कही.
Shall I speak?
Good evening, Mr. Javed. Thank you for your fascinating talk. My question is with regards to our way of storytelling. Mr. Karan Johar mentioned in one of his interviews that perhaps one of the reasons why our movies are not that appealing to the Western audience is our narrative. We have a break in our narrative. For example, we have intervals. Do you agree with this observation? And if so, would you recommend for it to be changed so that it is more appealing to the Western audience?
Yes and no. You see, ultimately we have a huge market. And as a matter of fact, most of our markets is totally untapped. A film like Dangal makes 1,300 crores in China.
Wow.
It doesn't make half of it in India. The film was made for India. Because in China today, I mean, fasten your seatbelts. Every day they are increasing theatres by 15. Every day, 15 more theatres are opening. Can you imagine? They have more than 50,000 theatres already, and they are increasing by the day. On our side, we hardly have 6,000 to 7,000 theatres in India. So because there are no outlets, our market is untapped. Suppose we also take a forward-looking attitude and say, we don't need any other market, and all right, if they want to see the film, they see it on our terms and conditions. But in present situation, I never advise people to fall between 2 stools. You have to be clear. What is your target audience? If you want to make the film for the West, fine, wonderful. Now, West has another sensibility. They have another tradition of cinema. Even in literature, their scripting is different from our scripting. The best of our film and the most ordinary of the film or the best of the film. We have basic structural difference. Our films, by temperament, are like novels. Leave aside films like, say, Godfather or Gone with the Wind. These are exceptions. Otherwise, an average Western picture, and particularly a continental film, is more like a short story. So first of all, our basic structure and our palette is different. We have been brought up, this society has been brought up on sagas. We want to hear stories of generations. If you give them the best story in the world and say, it happened one night. So one night and they're charging the same money. They won't like it. It was a super hit film, it happened one night. No, you tell me who was the grandmother. So, that is how we go for epics by temperament. Now, most of these films are by temperament epics. Even Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham is an epic in structure. Yes. So, first of all, we have basic structural difference. Then the pitching is different. So you have to please somebody, you may wind up pleasing no one. So you have to be clear, what do you want to do and who do you want to see your film? And accordingly make that film. And as a matter of what kind of film you want to make, that is more important than who do you want to see it. What kind of a film you want to make, it should come from your heart. Not that heart is such a foolproof thing that every time anything that will come from the heart will be wonderful. It's not so. But the only way you can achieve some wonderful feat, that will come from the heart. That has to be from the heart. No other way.
Javed ji, can I ask a question here?
Yes,
Can I ask a question?
अब मेरे इनके रिलेशन खराब हो जाएंगे. नहीं वो पीछे हैं.
इनके पास माइक है. Come.
अच्छा, okay.
Can I ask? Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Javed ji, I'm a London-based singer. And I've been to India and I've performed, and I'm quite surprised at times. I mean, I agree with what you were saying. I've come from a classical training background, and from a musical perspective, I find it quite odd that nowadays lots of singers don't even want to train in classical, let alone know anything about it. Rags are very deep, lyrics are very deep. It's a process of studying, I always think. But nowadays, I think in this social media culture, everyone's about fast this, fast that. Fast fame, fast songs, fast, it's just like become very disconnected from the classical approach to how things like used to be done, And I think, I personally find like a lot of young people, they don't have access to that heritage. Like you were saying that, this whole of Hindi cinema has changed and things, and I've had access to that heritage because my father came from India, from Kolkata, a Bengali family, and he learned from Ustad Mir Khan Sahab, in his day, but I was brought up in London. So I had access to that. But what I find nowadays is even in young people in India, they don't have access to that. They don't have any access. I went to meet with a record label in India, and they were telling me the biggest artist is Yo-Yo Honey Singh.
Yeah, okay, so your question is about lack of access for young people.
My question is about access, but it's also about... So for me, for instance, I went to go and get signed in India, and I didn't get signed. Okay, and I found it a bit odd, and I'm looking at Sony, and I'm seeing Beyonce on the wall. And I'm like, why isn't Lataji on the wall? Why isn't somebody Indian on the wall? Why is it that, why is it that whenever I go to India, everybody's looking out to what London's doing, to what America's doing? Why aren't we proud about what we do ourselves?
Okay. I found the question in it, don't worry. See, there are certain realities of life which may not be very convenient or comforting, but they remain reality. if you look at the history, at any time, one who is successful materially, politically, one who is powerful, one who is leading, will be followed by others. The fact is that there was a time when, whole of Central Asia and India, and by India not only the Muslim kings, but even Maharashtrian king used to feel proud if they would speak in Persian. It was not their language. Persian was not the language of Mughals. It was not their language. But that was their official language, because that was the lingua franca of all of Central Asia. Then came a time when Iranians started feeling proud that they can speak French. People whose language was Persian, they started feeling proud, and every sophisticated, high-class Iranian would talk only in French. So it happens that when people, the societies that are successful in other fields, other societies tend to emulate them, imitate them. Whether it is right or wrong, I'm not getting into it, but that is how it is. So it is totally understandable that today, not only Asia, but even the rest of the West, looks towards USA and follows them. And unfortunately, countries that have cultures of centuries forget about their own culture and look towards that way. Beyonce is not only popular in India, she's popular here, she's popular in France, in Germany, everywhere.
My question is, why? Why is that so?
Why? I tried to explain why. Because they are successful. Because they are successful. And we imitate powerful and successful societies and affluent societies. Everybody. This is the human history. One. Besides that, there is no harm in taking things from that. Now, I will never touch Coke or Pepsi because it's an outside influence. You don't have to be that careful. Relax. You should imbibe things. You should take wonderful things from, and there are so many wonderful things all around the world, in different societies, in different traditions. So if we don't take anything from anybody, we will be deprived, we'll be very deprived people. But at the same time, there is something wonderful about our culture, our tradition. We should not forget it. I give one example. So this is not an original one and not spontaneous, because I have said it before also. But it is apt. You have seen children that they take one pebble and they tie that pebble in a string and they start swinging the string. And slowly they keep leaving the string and the circle becomes bigger and bigger. Now this pebble is the rebel. It wants to move away. This string is the tradition. It is holding it. But the fact is that you require both of them. If there is no pebble, this string will not be able to go that far. And if there is no string, the pebble will fall immediately. So this tension between the parampara, between your old sanskar, your tradition, and pushing the envelope, both should be together. And only then we can make a circle bigger and bigger. Look at a tree. The tree, the trunk wants to move away from the earth. And not only that it moves away, then it branches out. But the more you branch out, you better have deeper roots. The roots should keep on going in, otherwise the tree will fall. So we need a balance. We should not close our minds that we are wonderful and every Western influence or foreign influence is bad and we are perfect. And we have always been perfect, that's why there is no need to change. It is wrong. We have wonderful things to offer to the world has wonderful things to offer to us. And we should be wise enough to know what to save and what to reject. I mean, I don't blame the younger generation. It is our fault. I blame my generation. I blame myself. We have let down our coming generation. How many youngsters in Delhi, in Bangalore, in Bombay have seen their parents going for a classical recital? The daddy is going to listen to Shiv Kumar Sharma. He may not go, she may not go, but this Shiv Kumar Sharma Santur, these words should go in their ear. Hari Prasad Chaurasia. Sometimes children should be dragged also. They go, they get bored, whatever, but it becomes the part of their repertoire. I mean, you people waste so much of energy teaching your children your superstitions. Instead of that, why don't you teach your culture to them? So, I mean, Bombay is a great city. I know of certain houses where the books were bought by the interior decorator. It's not a joke, because, you know, once upon a time this Encyclopedia Britannica was very popular because it used to have that leather cover, deep brown, so it used to go well with the furniture, brown furniture. So in this environment, where the child has never seen the parents talking about literature, about classical music, how do you expect the child to suddenly find a connect with classical music and classical literature and art and folk and so on? How will he do that? How she will do that? Not possible. So when we were kids, as I told you earlier, that by the time I was 12, I knew so much. So we have not exposed our children to that. And even those who inherited, people like me, we have not been able to do it. So it is a failure, and I give total credit to younger generation of India, that today people who are in their 20s, who are in their 30s, they are discovering all these things and pursuing these things. No thanks to us, in spite of us, they are doing it. So there is great hope. I am not pessimistic at all.
We'll take your question.
All right. First of all, a big fan.
First of all, I should congratulate you. That
I'm a big fan, first of all, and I love that debate of you and Sadhguru on the stage about science and spirituality. I would like to ask, my question is regarding commercial versus non-commercial. So let's say a song like a legendary song, Aaj Jaane Ki Zid Na Karo, to Sheila Ki Jawani. And then we have a movie from Mera Naam Joker to Race 3. Now we humans evolved, right? We came from caveman to a person who's surrounded by Facebook and smartphones. Now, do we think, is it that wrong to, because the market changes, is it wrong to make that kind of movie or a song for the person who listens to that? So we make commercial songs and commercial movies. They're not as important as the old, like classical songs or classical movies. But isn't it okay to do that? Just that's all.
See, this example was, I'm afraid, was not very apt. I know what you're saying, but this example of Aaj Jaane Ki Zid Na Karo or Sheila Ki Jawani, actually, both of them are extremely successful, and both of them are quite mediocre. Aaj Jaane Ki Zid Na Karo is no piece of literature at all. The first line is very good, and rest of the lines are very ordinary. But the hook line is very good. Sheila Ki Jawani doesn't even have a good hook line. That's about it.
That's very true.
And they are successful. Aaj Jaane Ki Zid Na Karo is an extremely popular mainstream song. And no poet worth his salt will tell you it's great writing or wonderful. Wow, it's not that. ये एक second line of defense बन गया है. अभी अच्छा भी क्या, what is good, we have forgotten that also. So Aaj Jaane Ki Zid Na Karo gets respect. People who see, I don't want to name certain directors, see their film and they feel that they have seen classics. While those films are quite ordinary. So I mean, you know him. You knew him well. Yeah. So these things happen, but yes, I mean, this aesthetics develops at an impressionable age. And if, like, I'm sure that you won't appreciate anything which is crap. Without asking you, I can tell that. Your question tells me that. Why? Because perhaps in your impressionable age, you were exposed to certain things. And if we see to it that our younger generation is exposed to better literature, better music, better poetry, it will ultimately show its result. Sometimes it takes time. You sow the seed now, and you feel that nothing has happened. But after 10 years, 15 years, the child goes back to that after growing up. So this is the thing. I totally agree with you that there is a deficit of aesthetics, and a very serious deficit. But how do we fight with that? Instead of blaming others, Sheila Ki Jawani is not the first song of its own kind. Yeah. I mean, such songs were made in 40s, in 30s. And not only that, Sheila Ki Jawani is a nursery rhyme in front of those songs. That was the kind of songs, obscene songs were made in 30s and 40s. But you don't remember those songs. And sometimes when people ask me, there was a song, Choli Ke Piche Kya Hai? So every time, people, this is a strange kind of communalism that works everywhere. Like if I am a member of film industry, I am responsible for all that is wrong with film industry. That is how we use communalism. That you are from that community. You terrorist? Arey bhai, he is not a terrorist. Maybe some people are. So some people may have written that song. It's not my responsibility. So they said, sir, what are you people doing? I mean, choli ke piche kya? Now listen, buddy, hang on. This song was written by one person. It was composed by two people, Lakshmikant Pereira. That makes three. Anand Bakshi, Lakshmikant Pereira. Then Subhash Ghai took it 4. Then Madhuri Dixit performed it at 5. Then there was a choreographer, Saroj Khan, 6. Cameraman 7. Editor 8. And I'll give you 3 more people, doesn't matter. So 10 people, 11 people. Are we bothered that 11 people in a country of 1.3 billion people have bad taste? No, that is not the problem. The problem is that this song became a super hit song. And the super hit song was not made by these 11 people. They made a song, and the society made it super hit. Yes. That is my worry. I'm not bothered about these 11 people. Who are they? You have made a super hit song. Such songs were made in 30s, they never used to become super hits. And at many places, in many houses I have gone, that when they call their 6 years old, 8 years old daughter, they say, "Dekhiye sahab, hamari beti choli." And they have shown the dancer. What do you tell them? See? So something has gone wrong with the society. There is some kind of serious problem, social void is created in the society and nobody is bothered about it. We have no cultural tradition. Look at the weddings of today. I mean, you feel ashamed. I mean, even a wedding in Hum Aapke Hain Kaun was better. Everybody, all the families imitate Bollywood. Yeah. All the wives, all the aunties and chachis, I mean, maybe it was their ambition some 50 years ago, but now they get this opportunity. And they learn dancing, a choreographer comes, and then they dance. I mean, Sangeet, they are not bothered about the bride or the bridegroom. They are having their own fun. I mean, look at their aspirations and their inspiration. It's very frightening. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. The last row. I can't hear you.
Just wait for the mic.
Hello. I have a mic. Quick question.
उनके पास भी एक माइक है जी ये
I was wondering if we can have a
You don't have the mic? Then it is his turn. Next will be yours.
Sure.
Yeah.
So first is on, I've got two questions. You can answer both of them on either.
The second one first.
Second one is a serious one. I'll have the first one as well. The first, I'll make the first one the second one. Popular culture you talked about. There seems to now there is a pan-Indian popular culture which seems to be evolving thanks to the serials, the movies, everything. In the north, people started wearing Mangal Sutras, Varmalas becoming norm in Bengali weddings. That was never the case before. So things like that, what's your view on that in a pan-Indian culture? And the second one, a more serious question about what's the, about Urdu and Urdu as a language. Yeah. And do you see that changing while you crisscross the South Asian continent, subcontinent? And how is it changing in India? What is its relevance in India going forward? I'd love to hear that.
Your first question, yes, it's good. I mean, if we can take things from the West and from any country in the world, then why can't we take things from the next door neighbor? Yeah. It's wonderful. As a matter of fact, we should not live in watertight compartments. And we can always enrich ourselves with different traditions. And that should not be only state-wise, but community-wise and so on and so forth. And I was brought up, I'm very fortunate, I was brought up in an atmosphere where such things were taken for granted. Today we have to talk about them. I did not know that Diwali or Holi are Hindu festivals. I had no idea. Till I grew up and came to in my childhood, I had no idea. Basant is not a Islamic festival and so on and so forth, because in Pakistan, when in Lahore, Basant is celebrated, all the mullahs get turn yellow. So yes, of course. I mean, we should take different things from different cultures, from Bengali culture, from Punjabi culture, from South, so many things. And these things are coming. I remember when I was a kid, I was in Lucknow, I was brought up in Lucknow. I was perhaps 7 years old or whatever. So there was an announcement from coffee house, India Coffee House, that was in Hazratganj. That is the Manhattan of Lucknow. And there was a board, and somebody had written the chalk on blackboard, "We serve dosa." And then there was a detail, what is a dosa? Because North Indians had never heard of it. And then it became the talk of the town. In our drawing room also, I heard, "Bhai, have you eaten that dosa?" Yes. What is dosa? Then you know what they do? They make one big roti of rice. Roti of rice. So, and now dosa, you get dosa everywhere in any city, any street of India. So these are the things, I mean, it is enriching a cuisine. Now, when in 70s I used to go to Madras, that was, Chennai was not there, it was Madras. So most of the girls used to wear only choli and ghagra. Now you see the girls in shalwar and kameez, or most of them are denim and kurta. So things are changing everywhere. People are there is more communication and there is more accessibility and so on. That's wonderful. And it should be like this. Now let's come to Urdu. Now Urdu, poor Urdu, it has some strange things happened to him, this language, which it did not deserve at all. First of all, I mean, sometimes in early 20th century or maybe late 19th century, it was declared a Muslim language. Languages don't have religion. What is the religion of French? Or German? Or Italian? Or Bengali, for that matter? As a matter of fact, most of the Bengali-speaking people are Muslims. Majority of Punjabi-speaking people is Muslims. Languages belong to regions. They don't belong to religion. It is stupid. It is totally absurd to say this language belongs to that religion. It's not possible. It doesn't mean anything. Urdu is only spoken in the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, And as a matter of fact, the inception of Bangladesh is the ultimate proof that languages don't belong to religions. Because one of the bone of contention between the Bengalis and West Pakistanis was the language. Bengalis wanted to protect their language. Wait, put your hand down. Yeah. I'll take a little time. So first of all, that is absurd. It was the language of UP, Haryana, Delhi, some parts of Rajasthan, some parts of Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, some parts of this, and then Hyderabad. Because it started from there, as a matter of fact. And all the elite, all the upper class, it was the language, urban language. So urban people patronized it and learned it and wrote in it and thought in it and read in it. Now suddenly, because some people, because of their vested interest, had to develop a theory of two nations. So now in two-nation theory, you can have two interpretations of history which were prepared that time. In late 19th century, these things have been done on a very conscious level. The two interpretations of history. There is Islami history and Hindu history. Again, they are bogus. They are not true. They are wrong. Then they claim land ultimately. But what do you do with a language? A living language that proves that two-nation theory is not right. You could not divide verbs and nouns. That all right, give all the nouns to Pakistan and we'll keep the verbs. It was not possible. So this had to be pushed one way or the other. I must tell you the history of Urdu, two things. How Islamic it is. Every language in the world, if you see the history of any language of the world, the poetry starts with religious poetry. And then it transcends. It goes to other topics and other ideas, another field. It has never happened to Urdu. Urdu, the very first day, was agnostic and atheistic, had no respect for fundamentalism. As a matter of fact, they made fun of fundamentalism, wrote against it from the first day. Urdu ghazal has certain permanent characters like Ashik, Rind, the drunkard, Mehkhana is a location, Haram, the mosque, is a there, Mandir is a location. Then there are heroes, the lover is the hero, and the Rind is the hero. And who are the villains of ghazal? Right from the beginning. Zahid, Sheikh, Mullah, Imam, Muhtasib, the moralist, all these people are villains of the ghazal. And if you go into the history of Urdu poetry, you will find poetry that you will surprise that you can't imagine that today a poet can stand at the podium in a mushara and recite this, which was written 200 years, 300 years back. काबा जो ढह गया है तो क्या जाएगा मैं शेख से कह रहा है, एड्रेसिंग द मुल्ला, कि काबा अगर गिर गया है तो कौन से रोने की बात है यार. काबा is demolished. I mean, what's there to feel so bad about it? काबा जो ढह गया है तो क्या जाएगा मैं शेख, कुछ कसरे दिल नहीं. It is not the castle of the heart जो बनाया न जाएगा. ये गालिब से भी पहले का शेर है. निजात बोलते हैं मोक्ष को. मीर का शेर है, जाए है जी निजात के गम में, कि माई हार्ट इज ऑलवेज बॉदर्ड अबाउट कि मोक्ष मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा, कि मैं जन्नत जाऊंगा कि जहन्नुम जाऊंगा. जाए है जी निजात के गम में, ऐसी जन्नत गई जहन्नुम में. या गालिब अगर ये कहता है कि हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल के बहलाने को गालिब ये ख्याल अच्छा है, तो ही इज कॉन्ट्रडिक्टिंग कुरान. जब कुरान तो कहता है जन्नत, वो कहता नहीं है. तो सारी पोइट्री इस तरह की इतनी है, उसका किसी को पता नहीं. other aspect of Urdu that people don't know is how much poetry you will get in Urdu on Krishna, on Ram, on Shiv Parvati, on Janmashtami, on Holi, on Diwali, any deity or any festival. You have so much of poetry and such good poetry. मैं आपको दावे से बोलता हूँ कि होली पे तो उर्दू से अच्छी शायरी किसी पे की नहीं, जो होली पे जो पोएम्स हैं, जो सावन पे जो पोएम्स हैं, बारिश पे, मॉनसून पे, सावन की रुत पे, अनबिलीवेबल पोएम्स, जो बनारस के घाटों पे पोएट्री है, अनबिलीवेबल, किसी लैंग्वेज में नहीं मिलेंगे आपको जो उर्दू में। 18 as late as 1897, मतलब just the other day, Quran was translated in Urdu by a gentleman in Delhi. His name was Shah Abdul Qadir. All the mullahs of that time gave a fatwa against him. That how dare he translate this holy book in this heathen language? When, I'm sorry, it was not 1850, it was 1797. In 1797, Quran was translated for the first time in Urdu. Almost 700 years after being translated in Sindhi. और ये हो गया कि उर्दू में इसने कर दिया. Now within 50-60 years, this language became Muslim. It has something to do with 1857. Yes. अब क्या हो गया है उर्दू का? ये अजीब साहब कहानी है उर्दू की. As long as I am speaking and you are understanding, आपका ख्याल है मैं हिंदी बोल रहा हूँ. When you stop understanding, then you feel, अरे ये तो उर्दू है. फैक्ट ये है कि हमको पाकिस्तानी दोस्त यहाँ इंग्लैंड में मिलते हैं, अमेरिका में मिलते हैं, तो हमसे एक बात है, साहब एक बात है, आपके यहाँ उर्दू फिल्में बहुत अच्छी बनती हैं. ये कंसिडर देम उर्दू फिल्म, और देम कभी खुशी कभी गम इज एन उर्दू फिल्म, और कल हो ना हो इज एन उर्दू फिल्म. एंड देयर इज सम ट्रूथ इन इट. ऐसा नहीं है. Because traditionally, if you will make the list of writers, most of the dialogue writers and lyric writers have come from Urdu discipline. तो वो हिंदुस्तानी है, एक वर्ड तो हम भूल ही गए हैं. हिंदुस्तानी एक भाषा थी जिसका अब नाम ही नहीं होता. वही असली ज़बान है नॉर्थ इंडिया की, वही हम सब बोलते हैं. हम में से कोई उर्दू नहीं बोलता है, हम में से कोई हिंदी नहीं बोलता, हम लोग हिंदुस्तानी बोलते हैं. अब उसे क्या है, आपने इधर से लिख दिया तो उर्दू हो गई, उधर से लिख दिया तो हिंदी हो गई. वरना मेन तो ये. फिर उसे आप आर्टिफिशियली फेक वर्ड डाल के अलग अलग आइडेंटिटी बनाने की कोशिश करते हैं. अब किसी ने वो लिखा था कि सालार जमात मिस्र उला की नगमा संजी में मसरूफ़ है, ता वक्त है कि दीगर असाब जमात मिस्र सानी की बकिया अरकान की अदायगी कर रहे हैं. ये उर्दू नहीं है, ये पता नहीं क्या है, ये तो मेरी उर्दू से. इसका मतलब सिर्फ इतना है कि द लीड वॉइस इज सिंगिंग द फर्स्ट लाइन एंड द कोरस इज सिंगिंग द सेकंड. ये मतलब. या अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि पके माटी के पास में दुख शर्करा युक्त गरा कंदरा उदित ऊंचन पर प्रदान करो, तो आप क्या समझेंगी? इट मीन कैन यू गिव मी अ कप ऑफ टी. तो ये आर्टिफिशियली उसे आपने अलग कर दिया. किसी ने पूछा ना कि आपने हैव यू हर्ड न्यूज़ इन हिंदी on All India Radio? So somebody said, no, yes. I've heard Hindi in news. तो वो अलग बात है. मगर हमारा जो नेचुरल कॉन्वर्सेशन है, या wherever the person is bothered to communicate, wherever you have to communicate, whether in an ad or in films or on TV, commercial TV. सरकारी टीवी पे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, कम्युनिकेशन हुआ नहीं हुआ, सैलरी तो मिल ही जाएगी. बट वेयर you will use simple language. You will use a mixture of Hindi words, Urdu words, but what we speak. Like I will not say avashyakta, I'll say zarurat. But I will not say haq, I'll say adhikar. तो कौन सा वर्ड कहाँ का ठीक लग रहा है वैसे यूज करते हैं. That is how we write dialogue. That is how we write songs.
I think we have time for just.
जहाँ तक फ्यूचर की बात, एक बात बता दूँ आपको. सॉरी, मैं बहुत लंबा जवाब दे गया, लेकिन ये टॉपिक ही ऐसा था कि फ्यूचर तो आई एम अफ्रेड कि अभी हमारी किसी भी वर्नाकुलर लैंग्वेज का मुझे ठीक नहीं दिख रहा. हाँ, ये सिर्फ उर्दू का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, ये सारी लैंग्वेजेस का, इंक्लूडिंग हिंदी, जो हमारी राष्ट्रीय भाषा है, वो भी. हो क्या रहा है? द मिडिल क्लास, द अपर मिडिल क्लास इज सेंडिंग देयर चिल्ड्रन टू इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल्स and convents and public schools, and justifiably, no complaints. I'm not one of those who say English is the last influence of that colonialism and so on. Nonsense. English doesn't belong to England anymore. It is our language. They also speak, I'm happy. But it's an international language.
You have a billion speakers. So.
Yeah. And what English we speak? They can't. अब इस पे आगे मुझे कहना चाहिए, देखिए आप मेरी बात को अदरवाइज ले गए. You won't understand this. If they have to say UP that you have misunderstood me, तो कहते हैं अरे आप मेरी बात को अदरवाइज ले गए. So creative. तो हुआ क्या है कि the privileged class is learning English at the cost of their own mother tongue. And this mother tongue, this indigenous language, this vernacular, is left for the poorest of poor. So the language is taken by the slums and Jhopda-patti, the original language. And here they are living in a kind of a cultural void, because language is not only some kind of a facility of communication, it is a vehicle that carries culture. You cut the language, you cut the culture, cut the tradition, everything. So these children are in a cultural void. And at some stage they feel incompetent and isolated. Particularly if they have to, they are in a vocation where they have to communicate with the common person. On the other hand, this child who is, there are no hard and fast rules, you will find exception on both the sides, but by and large, this child develops a sense of incompetence and inadequacy that he doesn't or she doesn't know English, because they know that, all that is being prosperous and becoming richer and becoming more cool is in English. So, isme either inferiority complex or a kind of resentment comes. And this person has a false sense of his superiority and at the same time feels cut from the roots. And sometimes it becomes very obvious, and sometimes one can see their desperation, because when children, people who have studied in these schools and these colleges, and when they use Hindi four-letter words, I feel they are lying. It doesn't sound true from their lips, because they feel that through these four-letter words we will be rooted. It's a desperate attempt on finding the root. So there is a kind of incompletion on both the sides, branches and roots. Here you have roots, but more often than not they become parochial. On the other side, they develop a worldview, but they are in a cultural void. So it's not a happy situation. We are, middle class is responsible for polishing, enriching the language. And I am afraid that middle class of India has abdicated this responsibility.
I've got the microphone.
Yeah,
Adab. I just wanted to use this platform to encourage if we can have an Urdu festival over here in London, something like Jashin-e-Rekhta. That would be much appreciated, because as we know, Urdu is dying out. My roots are originally from Hyderabad, so when I go there, I do sense a lot of identity crisis. They don't fit into their languages are constantly, they have a first language, second language, and third language. They have something like English, Hindi, special English, and Telugu. And Urdu is an optional language. And every parent hesitates sending their child to Urdu. They keep a Moli sub. And again, children only try to skip out of it to dodge the person away because they've got enough subjects to read through. So yes, all I wanted to say is, can we have something like a Jashn-e-Rekhta or an Urdu festival over here, just dedicated to Urdu, because we do want to stay grounded. We love Urdu, and I personally love your work and Gulzar Saab's work, but I also see from your children, I love their piece of work too, both from Farhan and Meghna, but their piece of work is completely different to yours. From Gulzar's daughter.
As long as she's praising me, I tend to ignore her.
I mean, both your children are doing a wonderful job, as well as Gulzar's. But then their piece of work is completely different to yours, and they're not very Urdu-driven. I enjoy both your generational work, but then I just feel we need to do something more to contribute to Urdu. And though we live in London, we're still very grounded.
I got your concern.
Yeah.
I know some people who have lived in London and their children have studied here, but their children know Urdu well.
Yes, I read Urdu and I speak in Urdu.
You see, we have to make an extra effort.
That's true.
To see to it, whether we are Gujarati or Marathi or Punjabi or Bengali, we should see it. Whatever our language is, a child should know a language. And that will give the child some roots, some identity. And it doesn't mean that the child should not learn anything else and say that this is the end of all. It's not that. But for that you have to make... But ultimately, it's sad but true that languages don't survive on literature. Languages survive on the economic utility. When somebody finds economic utility, people start learning Chinese in USA. So it is the economic utility. I remember coming to London in 70s, on Oxford Street, I used to see boards in Arabic everywhere. So if there is economic utility, people will learn the language. That is the point.
Yeah. There's an audience down here. When there used to be a Javed Singh program or a Pandit-Dash, it's a full house within minutes. Obviously, he's not there anymore, and he doesn't have a successor. So there are people trying to impersonate his cultural voice, but then it's still not the same flavor.
That's a point well taken, and I'm sure there'd be more people here to take this initiative. Yeah, so we'll have to work on that here, and I'm sure Javed
you must organize
here
it
for that festival.
and invite me, I'll come.
Maybe South Asia Institute, Institute here could do something. We'll have to.
Ji.
Sorry, comment and then there's a question. Comment is, going back to the question which gentleman asked about the language.
Yeah.
मैं जितने भी हिंदी के फिल्म फेस्टिवल के अवार्ड्स देखता हूँ, उसमें एक भी हीरो हीरोइन जो भी आते हैं वो कोई हिंदी नहीं बोलता। हिंदी फिल्म के अवार्ड्स होते हैं। एटलीस्ट उनमें ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होनी चाहिए कि अब हिंदी फिल्म से उनकी जीविका चलती है, तो हिंदी बोलना चाहिए उन्हें वहाँ आके। हिंदी वो जब भी बोलते हैं तो इस तरह से बोलते हैं कि एज इफ दे आर इंसल्टिंग द लैंग्वेज. सो दैट इज माय आई एम नॉट ब्लेमिंग यू सर.
I'm listening.
So that is my comment. My question is, Javed साहब, if you have to pick one film जो आपको लगे पूरी संपूर्ण फिल्म है अब तक जो बनी है, उसमें कौन सी ऐसी फिल्म होगी जिसमें आपको लगे कि जावेद साहब का इसमें कैरेक्टर मतलब आपने जज्ब किया है इस फिल्म को?
देखिए, if you are influenced by one, you are a plagiarist. If you are influenced by many, you are a research scholar. मैं आपको सच कह रहा हूँ. As a matter of fact, I have many influences, many influences. That is only on conscious level. I don't know on subconscious level how many influences I have. I can't analyze myself totally. I'll need somebody to do that. But it is cinema, it is Western cinema, American cinema, it is popular American literature that you get in paperbacks. It is classics on the other side. It is Urdu poetry, Urdu literature that has influenced me. And there are so many influences. It's difficult to decide what one thing doesn't make you. I mean, there are different elements.
If you benchmark one film for, if you tell youngsters or young directors, benchmark, this is the benchmark for you.
This is the film you should see. You see, for that you have to be a religious person. Only religious people find one truth. I'm afraid I'm not.
Okay, I'm afraid we are going to run out of time now, and we'd really like to end with one poem, at least one poem from you, Javed sir. Everyone wants Naya Hukumnama.
मगर उसके बाद मैं आपको वो पोएम भी सुनाना चाहता हूँ जो मैंने अभी लिखी हो, आपने नहीं सुनी। हालांकि मुझे अभी उन्होंने दिखाई उस पे, इनके पास वो मेरे पास है, वीडियो पे है। पहले नया हुक्मनामा सुना देता हूँ, फिर आपको, और वो रेलेवेंट है इसलिए कि उसी चीज़ के आसपास बातें हो रही थी। किसी का हुक्म है सारी हवाएं हमेशा चलने से पहले बताएं कि उनकी समत क्या है, डायरेक्शन क्या है, किधर जा रही हैं। किसी का हुक्म है सारी हवाएं हमेशा चलने से पहले बताएं कि उनकी समत क्या है। हवाओं को बताना ये भी होगा, चलेंगी जब तो क्या रफ्तार होगी, कि आंधी की इजाज़त अब नहीं है। हमारी रेत की सब ये फसीले, ये कागज़ के महल जो बन रहे हैं, हिफाजत इनकी करना है ज़रूरी, और आंधी है पुरानी इनकी दुश्मन, ये सभी जानते। किसी का हुक्म है दरिया की लहरें ज़रा ये सरकशी कम कर लें, अपनी हद में ठहरें। उभरना फिर बिखरना और बिखर कर फिर उभरना, गलत है उनका ये हंगामा करना। ये सब है सिर्फ वहशत की अलामत। These are the symbols of madness, the signs of madness. ये सब है सिर्फ वहशत की अलामत, बगावत की अलामत। बगावत तो नहीं बर्दाश्त होगी, ये वहशत तो नहीं बर्दाश्त होगी। अगर लहरों को है दरिया में रहना, तो उनको होगा चुपचाप बहना। किसी का हुक्म है इस गुलसिता में बस अब एक रंग के ही फूल होंगे। कुछ अफसर होंगे जो ये तय करेंगे गुलिस्तां किस तरह बनना है कल का। यकीनन फूल यकरंगी तो होंगे, मगर ये रंग होगा कितना गहरा कितना हल्का, ये अफसर तय करेंगे। किसी को ये कोई कैसे बताए, गुलिस्तां में कहीं भी फूल यकरंगी नहीं होते, कभी हो ही नहीं सकते, कि हर एक रंग में छुपकर बहुत से रंग रहते हैं।
क्या बात है।
जिन्होंने बाग एक रंगी बनाना चाहे थे, उनको जरा देखो कि जब एक रंग में 100 रंग जाहिर हो गए हैं, तो वो अब कितने परेशान हैं, वो कितने तंग रहते हैं। किसी को ये कोई कैसे बताए, हवाएं और लहरें कब किसी का हुक्म सुनती हैं। हवाएं हाकिमों की मुट्ठियों में, हथकड़ी में, कैद खानों में नहीं रुकती। ये लहरें रोकी जाती हैं तो दरिया कितना भी हो पुरसुकून बेताब होता है, और इस बेताबी का अगला कदम सैलाब होता है।
क्या बात।
अब एक वन फॉर द रोड में आपको दे देता हूँ। ऐसे मैंने एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग कार्टून देखा था। There are two drunkards in a bar sitting with a big map in their hand, and one is telling other, now one for this road. Sadish. This is the latest poem that I have written from 10-15 days back. मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने ये साजिश रची। मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने ये साजिश रची है कि लफ्ज़ और मानी में जो रिश्ता है, वर्ड एंड मीनिंग, कि लफ्ज़ और मानी में जो रिश्ता है उसको जितना भी मुमकिन हो कमज़ोर कर दो, कि हर लफ्ज़ बन जाए बेमानी आवाज़, जिब्रिश। फिर सारी आवाज़ों को ऐसे गडमट करो, ऐसे गूंधो कि एक शोर कर दो। ये शोर एक ऐसा अंधेरा बुनेगा कि जिसमें भटक जाएंगे अपने लफ्ज़ों से बिछड़े हुए सारे गूंगे मानी, भटकते हुए रास्ता ढूंढते वक्त की खाई में गिर के मर जाएंगे, और फिर आके बाजार में खोखले लफ्ज़ बेबस गुलामों की मानंद बिक जाएंगे। ये गुलाम अपने आकाओं के एक इशारे पे इस तरह यूरिश हमला, ये गुलाम अपने आकाओं के एक इशारे पे इस तरह यूरिश करेंगे कि सारे ख्यालात की सब इमारात, द बिल्डिंग्स ऑफ ऑल द थॉट्स, सारे जज्बात के शीशा घर मुनहदिम होकर रह जाएंगे, सब डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएंगे, डिमोलिश हो जाएंगे। All the edifices of the thoughts, all the glass houses of emotions will be demolished. हर तरफ बस यही देखने को मिलेगा, हर तरफ जहन की बस्तियों में यही देखने को मिलेगा कि एक अफरा तफरी मची है, इट्स अ टोटल chaos। मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने साजिश रची है, मगर कोई है जो ये कहता है मुझसे कि है आज भी लफ्ज़ मानी के ऐसे परिस्तार और शहदा जो मानी को यूं बेज़बां लफ्ज़ को ऐसे नीलाम होने न देंगे। अभी ऐसे दीवाने हैं जो ख्यालात का, सारे जज्बात का, दिल की हर बात का ऐसा अंजाम होने न देंगे। अगर ऐसे कुछ लोग हैं तो कहाँ हैं? वो दुनिया के जिस कोने में है, जहाँ है, उन्हें ये बता दो कि लफ्ज़ और मानी बचाने की खातिर ज़रा सी ही मोहलत बची है। मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने ये साजिश रची है।
I feel a bit starved of words myself tonight in thanking our wonderful speakers and our great audience for such participation. I just want to slightly go off the record here, and I would like to say, you understand Urdu clearly in Hindi. Why do we get so few students coming to study these languages now at SOAS? So we have to go to the Board of Governors and say, we can't run these languages so much because people don't want to study them. Surely people want to read these literatures and study them. I mean, I came to SOAS when I was 18. I didn't know one South Asian language. I studied some, and others I just... Urdu I picked up because we had scholars here like Christopher Shackle, David Matthews, Qadri Saab, Ralph Russell. They were all around. It was part of our culture. So please think Urdu and other South Asian languages aren't just about these wonderful occasions by an expert, but they're also about learning, studying, thinking in a wider context. So, you know, please do think about this. It's not a recruitment drive at all, but it's just something I feel personally very strongly about, and I feel very moved by the speech I heard tonight, that other people like me won't get a chance to learn these languages again. Thank you.
I'll take a minute to thank South Asia Institute SOAS, particularly Professor Rachel for putting this together. And thank you to all of you. Thanks to JavedAkhtar, our organization who presented this, and to Chandana, Jahnavi, Oindrila, and Nick. Thank you very much.